Hello, and welcome to another episode of Aselia the Eternal. We have Mission 13 this time. And Mission 13 is kind of an interesting one. It's kind of a little bit of a marathon. Well, it's a little bit of a slog. Unlike some of the missions that we've done previously, we just have a straight shot from where we start in Ronsa to where we want to end in Slegid. The difference here is that we really don't have any towns to replenish at. So that means that we're really forced to use our skills cleverly in order to make it to Slegid quickly. I guess in practice it doesn't work that differently than a lot of the other missions do. But I did feel like this was a mission where I was really carefully using my HP as a resource in a way that I hadn't been for some of the more recent missions. That being said, the mission itself is not too challenging. I think we are sort of at the point in the game where we've made maybe some correct decisions, for lack of a better way of putting it, and we're maybe a little bit ahead of the curve. I definitely feel like some of the levels that we got in the last mission really came in handy here with being able to deal the right amount of damage against certain enemies, which I'll showcase as part of this strategy. This mission has a 14-turn requirement to get an SS rank, and I was able to get it down to an 18-turn clear, which I feel pretty good about. As far as the enemies go, we're seeing a lot of the same enemies that we were seeing before. It's just we have to tackle them all at once rather than a piece at a time. So this is the formation that we're going to be using. We have Shia, Yuto, and Nanaru in Formation 1. We have Nelly, Nymthor, and Aselia in Formation 2. Farin, Hellion, and Orpha in Formation 3. Himika, Esperia, and Celia in Formation 4. Unfortunately, even with the upgrades that Hellion got, specifically with Iron Maiden 1, I don't think that she is quite good enough yet to justify putting into the party. Maybe she'll get there eventually, but as it is, this is what we're going with. And while I did build a training center here, and I'm going to keep the training center there just in case, we only have 20,000 ether, which means that we could really only train 3 characters. So we're not really going to worry about any of that. We're just going to sort of take this mission as it is, and then maybe next mission or the mission after that we'll have more ether to actually do some interesting things with. So without further ado, let's get to it. The first thing that I want to do is move all the characters west. Again, if you are struggling with this mission, you can definitely wait in Ronsa, right? There's no like additional spawns or anything like that, so once you take care of these 5 units, you can just run straight down to Slegid without having to worry about any additional reinforcements. But we're trying to do this fast, right? So we're going to be aggressive. Staying in Ronsa, I think, honestly, if you're playing well, but maybe you're just a little bit behind, maybe you've leveled up the wrong characters or whatever, or haven't leveled up the characters that I've leveled, I wouldn't say that what I've done is correct or not. You can definitely still get an SS rank by spending an extra couple of turns in Ronsa. Like I said, I was able to get this down to 8 turns, which means that we have, in theory, an extra 6 turns to play around with. But if we're going to do this quickly, we want to be aggressive rather than defensive, and I think waiting in Ronsa would be defensive rather than offensive. So we're on turn 2 here. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to attack with Formation 3. We're going to use Farin, Hellion, and Orpha. We want Full Moon Sword, and we want Flame Shower. Now, like I said, this is going to be kind of the first mission in a while where we're really using HP as a resource. In some of the previous missions, I was pretty comfortable letting the Green Spirits take some heavy hits because I knew that we were, you know, on a town with a recovery center or what have you. But in this mission, I'm doing this much more deliberately, right? I have really sort of, for lack of a better way of putting it, planned out the math so that I know that we can survive this, whereas in, you know, Mission 11, for example, it was more of a luxury, whereas in this mission it's more of a necessity in order to get the fast time. I guess, in theory, the actual, like, practical reasons for playing this way have not changed very much, but the sort of the margins that we're working with are a little bit tighter in this mission than they have been in the past handful of missions. I could definitely see this mission giving people some difficulty, although I don't think that it's as challenging as like Mission 4 or Mission 11, right? Mission 11, that final gauntlet of enemies at the end, was probably the hardest thing that we've done in this game so far. Okay, and then we're going to attack with Formation 1. We're going to use Leap Attack 1 here with Shia, right? This soldier's already taken a lot of damage, so we want to attack past the defender rather than attack the defender. And Nanadu with Flame Shower does enough damage to kill the Green Spirit, so this allows us to sort of maximize our offensive options here, right? And again, Shia continues to be extraordinarily useful for her ability to attack past defenders, right? I think oftentimes you end up with a situation where the defender is barely alive and you don't want to have to waste a full-powered attack on them. Excuse me. And Shia kind of allows you to work past that limitation, as you'll see here. Because Shia is able to attack the attacker directly, rather than wasting her time on the defender, we're actually able to kill this unit in 2 rounds of combat, rather than 3 rounds of combat. And I do think that that leap attack matters, for the record. Out of all the characters in our party, we're the least worried about Yuto taking damage because he has just such high stats and such a high HP. So, out of all of our defenders, Yuto can afford to take a lightning fire kind of for free. This is also kind of a story mission in the way the last mission was, so as we make our way down through the desert, we start to see scenarios like this as well. For a character that we had basically never seen until a few, what is effectively a few hours ago in terms of actual game time, Uraka sure seems to show up a lot, all of a sudden. She is the heroine that I'm shooting for in this playthrough. I couldn't tell you why specifically. I guess she's kind of got cool vibes. But hopefully she'll be actually a pretty useful Black Spirit, because I would like for the Black Spirits to kind of contribute something in this playthrough. Currently, even with someone like Farin, who is way over-leveled compared to a lot of our other characters, I feel like I'm kind of using her because I don't have anyone better to use, rather than because she is, in and of herself, useful. And I'm hoping that Uraka can kind of buck that trend, although I'm not sure how confident I am that she actually will. I don't know if it's a coincidence that Yuto happens to perfectly use abilities that we've learned in this sort of scripted battle. I don't know if we hadn't leveled him as much, if he would be using different abilities, or if we had leveled him more, maybe he would be using more abilities. I'm not sure, but it just seems like oddly specific that he has Passion and Frenzy too, where it feels like it would have been a lot easier to just use like Heavy Attack and Inspire, because he starts the game with those abilities. gonna go turn my fan on. Maybe, unfortunately, we spend, I think, more time in this mission in cutscenes than we do in gameplay. I'm actually quite proud of this strategy. I don't know if proud is the right term. It took me a little bit of, actually, iteration to get this down to 8 turns. And so I don't want it just because it's a short mission, I don't want it to feel like it's a easy mission to strategize for, right? Certainly not as complex as, you know, mission 1 through 6 were. Those were pretty precise. But I do like the opportunities for optimization that this game presents. Okay. And then we're just going to move everybody to meet up with Formation 1, right? Because we were able to defeat this unit in 2 rounds of combat, we're able to have 3 characters on the front line, or 3 formations on the front line rather than 2. We're going to defend here with Formation 1. And we're going to use Frenzy, and we're going to use Water Shield, and we're going to use Flame Shower. I realize that it seems maybe kind of odd to opt into this particular configuration for seemingly no reason. But because we're in sort of a race here rather than a survival situation, I'm going to make some kind of odd decisions because I'm trying to maximize the amount of damage output we have rather than trying to maximize the number of turns that we can survive, right? A lot of previous missions, it's been about maximizing the number of turns that we can survive. In this mission, because we are... You can see here that Yuto Frenzy 2 is still doing a lot of damage, even though it's reduced. Anyway, in the previous missions, we were sort of playing around certain breakpoints. In this mission, we're trying to save certain high pressure or high priority skills. But we're also trying to take advantage of the fact that, you know, our characters can really only take so much damage. I don't know why he attacked the supporter there. That seems a little odd. But fortunately, Shia survives that. And we defend here with Formation 4, which is going to be Heaven's Sword. And like I said, we're going to see that these, just, you know, one level per character ended up having a really big difference. Heaven's Sword here allows us to just one-shot this defender, which is quite nice. I've said it before, but Aselia is an interesting character where she works because she's ahead of the curve, but on paper she doesn't really compete with a lot of the other blue spirits. It's an interesting role to have for a character. She's not like a Jagan necessarily, because it's not like she takes more experience to train or anything like that. But she works in kind of the same way, where she is a character that gives you access to certain abilities or certain utilities earlier than you would have normally have access to them. But because of that, those abilities are a little bit underwhelming. Obviously, you know, Heaven Sword there just did like 2400 HP, so that wasn't underwhelming, but you get the point that I'm trying to make, right? I hope. Using Heaven Sword there allows us to one-shot that defender, which is not really something that we would be able to do with most other characters. I think even Himika with triple swing would probably still take 2 attacks, if I had to guess. Maybe not. That's hard to say. Alright, turn 3. Obviously we're going to move formation 3 west. We're in a race against time here, so we want everybody to contribute. And we're going to swap Nymthor with Aselia here. We're going to attack with F4. And we're going to use this specific formation because Wind Whisper activates during the defense support phase rather than during the divine magic phase. If we waited, if we tried to heal Himika with a Harvest or with a Earth Prayer, Aselia would kill the soldier. And in fact, I think pretty much all of our blue spirits would kill this attacker, and we would not get the opportunity to heal Himika, right? And of course, if we don't do enough damage, then Himika takes damage, which is also not great. So this does allow us to get some, essentially, chip healing on Himika by taking advantage of the fact that Wind Whisper activates at a different part of the turn order, or of the round order, than Divine Magic does, right? Whether this matters in the long run, I have no idea, but it is a nice little optimization to have access to, which is why I did it, right? We needed a unit to kill this enemy, so this allows us to kill the enemy and heal Himika at the same time, which is nice. And then we're going to attack with Formation 2. We're going to use Aselia, we're going to use Aselia, and we're going to use Nelly. It doesn't really matter what we use for Nelly here because Chaos Impact can't be interrupted. But we do want to use Aselia here because Accurate Block 5 is still probably our best bet when defending against these attackers. Nelly doesn't have access to Ether Sync yet, and even if she did, it wouldn't be effective here because it would just target the supporter anyway. I'm actually not sure if Aselia kills this defender here. She did 1900 damage there. Don't think she does. I think she gets close. Yeah, she gets close. But the fact that Aselia has the ability to use Fury twice in one attack, or in one round of combat, is kind of nuts, actually. It doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't matter that we're not able to kill this unit, because we still have 2 other units, so we're not losing any forward momentum. And because we get a whole defensive phase, we get to be pretty greedy here. I'm going to do this specific formation. Inspire goes off first, which means that we will be able to heal Shia, and then Nanaru, even though she doesn't do very much damage, will do enough damage to kill this enemy. Again, this is like kind of a flex. I don't know that it matters in terms of actually being able to clear this mission with this strategy, but it's nice that we have these options, and it's nice to take advantage of these options when we have access to them. Doesn't heal for a lot, but it does heal for more than nothing, right? She's more than what she was before we started the fight. When we put it that way. Alright, now we're going to defend with formation 3 here, and the reason why we do that is because this attacker doesn't do very much damage. We're going to do accurate block 2, because this activates twice per round of combat. We're going to do full moon sword, and we're going to do flame shower. Again, we are very deliberately using health as a resource here. Eien is, if I'm being honest with you, not a great defender, right? Her block skills just don't block for very much. She does have a good amount of HP, but she just can't take that many hits. So I'm going to use her to tank this soldier, or this attacker, who's kind of irrelevant, but mostly exists to sort of use up your higher priority defensive charges. And while this soldier is going to do a lot of damage, they won't do enough damage to kill her. And basically after this point, we don't need Eien to take hits, so this is, again, I'm not going to say super precisely calculated, but it's not random, right? I'm doing it this way on purpose. Because we do want to preserve our other defenders, our other green spirits, for the more harder missions after this, or the more harder fights after this, I should say. Make no mistake though, Eien does take a good chunk of damage. Full Moon Sword happens to be Farin's best attack at this point. It is also the attack that she has that lowers her mind. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but because she comes to us pre-promoted, we do want to keep her mind at a relatively low level in order to ensure that she can continue promoting in the future. You can probably imagine that we are going to kill this unit with F1, with Formation 1, with Shia, in the next turn. Because, again, we're in the same situation where the defender is much lower than the attacker or the supporter is. And then we're going to defend here with Shia, Yuto, and Nanadu. That can't be right. Oh no, that is right. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong number. It's like, wait a minute. She only has 1 charge left. She actually has 2 charges left. Silly me. We're gonna swap this to Leap Attack 2. Because we're not just going slow for the sake of going slow, and this unit has a lot of HP. So we do want to target them specifically if we can. But because they're a green spirit, they should take a lot of damage from Nanadu here, which is nice. Yuto can take this hit just fine. I mean, it does good damage, but he can take the hit just fine. It's interesting that this game mentions how the desert, causes you to do less damage with your elemental abilities. Nanadu is still extremely strong, even in the desert. And just like that, we're able to kill that attacker using Shia, which is quite nice. Alright. So, believe it or not, we're kind of at the halfway point here. We're at the point of no return. We have to make a decision about how we're going to, first of all, how we're going to kill these enemies. And second of all, who we're going to use to defeat these enemies back here. Here's what I came up with. I'm going to put Nelly, Farin, and Orpha here. Use Nelly as an attacker, Farin as a defender, Orpha as a supporter. These are kind of like our least impressive damage dealers, so to speak. We're going to use Aselia, Asperia, Shia, Halion, Nymphthor, and Nanadu, and then we're going to use Aselia, Himika, and Yuta. So we're back down to this formation again. Kind of the old standby here. We're going to attack here with Formation 1, and we're going to use Nelly here very specifically, because we don't do enough damage with Flame Shower to fully kill any of these units. And Orpha's Flame Shower goes after the leap attack, so we need to guarantee that we still have 2 more attacks after the Flame Shower goes off in order to finish off these 2 enemies. What unit can do that? Nelly. And in fact, she is the only unit that can do this, and based on my testing, this is the only combination of characters that can make this happen as well. We're still going to use Counterattack 1 because it blocks twice. And we're going to use Flame Shower here. We're going to use our last charge of Flame Shower here, which again is not an accident. And this will allow us to very cleanly defeat this formation. Otherwise, we would have to use 2 formations for this, which would then put us back by a turn, it turns out. Turn 9 was pretty easy. Turn 8 was a little bit of a brain teaser. Of course, you know, the fact that Nelly kills this defender does feel like a little bit of a waste, but again, if we can manage to wipe out 3 units using 1 formation, that's better than average. And Nelly does, like, exactly enough damage here to kill these characters. Lightning Fire hurts, but Farin can take the hit because she's got a lot of HP. And actually doesn't take that much damage from Red Spirits anyway. And we're not really going to use her after this anyway. And as you can see, Nelly does like exactly enough damage to kill these characters here. So it works out pretty well. I was pretty proud of myself when I came up with this strategy. I know it feels kind of basic, but it did take me a little bit of practice and iterating to get to there. And then we're going to attack with Formation 4. And we're doing this because we are, you know, kind of trying to preserve our skill usages, for lack of a better way of putting it. Frenzy continues to be a really powerful skill. Himika continues to be a really good unit because she can do damage as an attacker and as a supporter. And again, kind of similar to specifically using Nelly, I don't know that we would be able to... I guess we could have probably cleared this formation using a similar strategy if we had used Aselia instead, but this works well, right? Works just as well. And we don't need Aselia to have a lot of HP because she's not really going to take more hits after this. And there we go. Yuto does enough damage with Frenzy to kill that defender, and then honestly probably doesn't even need Fireball at that point. But, you know, we use the units that we have. The more I think about it, the more I'm pretty sure Aselia could have done this. But again, if it works, right? We could have come up with safer strategies, but they wouldn't be any faster, right? So, you know, hey, if the end result is the same, go for it. Now, I actually haven't tested to see if it matters where these characters end up, but I'm just going to choose to move everybody west. It may be that being able to keep one of the units, one of the formations further east would give them the opportunity to train or something. If I wanted to train, I guess I would train Orpha specifically. And maybe that would have been a smarter way to do it. I did not test the next mission after this, which is something that I typically do. I haven't made it that far yet. Typically, I will test the mission after the mission that I'm currently trying to record, just to see if, you know, I can make any adjustments to the strategy based on, like, the end state of the mission or the begin state of the next mission. But I haven't done that yet, and frankly, I don't think that it matters very much. We don't have enough mana or enough ether right now for us to be able to meaningfully level up our characters that much. I believe, based on my notes, I needed Orpha to be at, like, level 16. And she's level 12 right now, so even if we used all of the ether that we had, we would not be able to get her to the point where she gets her next power increase. So I'm not saying that it doesn't matter, I just don't know that it matters very much. Let me put it that way. This is really the mission where we learn a lot about Uraka. Who is kind of tall, dark, and mysterious at this point. We don't know a lot about her, but we do know that she's not as bad as she looks, not as bad as she seems. We're setting her up for her inevitable face turn, as it were.
どこへなりとも行きなさい。
それでは手前の部下たちは
部下、今のあなたに部下が必要だとは思えませんがね。
しかし
まともに働きもせずに何を主張するのですか。戦いだけが存在価値だったものの、弱いあなたにどんな価値があるというのです。
手前は戦う意味を、それを知りたく。
戦う意味、なんという寝ぼけたことを言うのか。剣の声すら聞こえない出来損ないのスピリット。あなたにかけるべき情けもそろそろ品切れなのですよ。本当に残念ですがね。しかしあなたも惜しかったのですがね。私の見たところ邪魔なものがあまりにも多すぎるようですね。
邪魔。
さあ、どこへなりと行きなさい。私は慈悲深いですから、戦えないあなたは自由にして差し上げましょう。
And then we just move everybody west to catch up. And like I said, there's basically no enemies until we get to Slegid. So we just get to keep moving everybody west as much as we want. Like I said, what I could have done, in theory, is taken Formation 1 and brought them back up here, and so that would give us like 2 or 3 turns of training. If I'm trying to be optimal, that would have been the correct choice, but I don't know that it matters. And no, I'm not just saying that as an excuse because I didn't think of it until just now. Even though I didn't think of it until just now. And then I do think that this is a pretty cool reveal, even though it's been foreshadowed pretty heavily. That's exactly right, Orpha. The desert is supposed to be hot. Maybe not hot in the middle of winter, but you know. We all have some changes that we're having to come to terms with.
この砂漠を横断し、マロリガンへと向かう道は相手にとって絶好の迎撃場所と言えます。いくらなんでも兵が全く配置されていないのはさすがにおかしいです。
じゃあ敵さんも熱くてゆだっちゃったのかも。デミさんみたいに真っ赤っか。
そうですね。少しずつ進軍しましょう。大丈夫ですか、ユウト様。
ユウト？
うかしましたか？あの岩場に何か？大丈夫ですか、ユウト様。よろしければ見てまいりましょうか。
契約者、あの岩場の上で巧妙に気配を消してやる。
何なんだ一体。
ユウト様、ご無事ですか？
パパ、大丈夫？怪我してない？
やっぱりこの程度じゃダメだな。せっかく因果で気配を殺していたのにな。さすがはラキオスのエトランジェってとこか。
永遠神剣の主の名において命ずる。我らを守りし雷の包囲となる。
よう、久しぶりだな、ユウト。どうしてか、それは俺も聞きたいんだけどな。どういうわけか、俺も今日この剣をお前に。 やめろ京子。今日のところは挨拶だって言われたじゃないか。大将にまだ仕掛けるなと言われているだろ。悪いな、ユウ。こっちにも都合がいろいろとあって。だからさ、俺たちに殺されてくれ。永遠神剣第5位因果の主法院の名において命ずる。今日のところは挨拶だ。俺たちの力をユウトが知らないっていうのはハンデの一番だな。俺たちはユウトたちの戦いをずっと見てきたわけでした。フェアじゃない。俺たちはそろそろ退散しよう。そんなわけで宣戦布告ってやつだ。俺たちの防衛戦を突破できるか楽しみにしているぜ。じゃあまたな、ユウト。
Coin's kind of a jerk, it turns out. I guess that was kind of obvious. They're all kind of jerks, actually.
じゃあな、ユウト。これからは激動した。恨みっこなしだぜ。
Fortunately, we don't have to fight him just yet. We're going to continue moving everybody up. And, you know, I might as well stick with the strategy now. I've already committed to it. And so, here is the key to a turn 8 clear. This is the best that I've been able to get to. I've found that you need to have 3 formations. Because one formation can deal with this just fine, but you need to have at least 2 formations to deal with this. Excuse me. Alright. Formation 1's kind of out on their own, doing their own thing. We'll move them up here just to be with everybody else, but they're out of the fight, essentially. So we're going to have Himika, Halion, and Farin. No. Let's see. Maybe I can pull this back. Shia, Asperia, Nanadu, Aselia, Yuto, Celia. We're gonna have Nymthor. Oh, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. We're going to have Celia, Yuto, Himika. We're going to have Shia, Nymthor, Nanadu. And we're going to have Aselia, Asperia, Halion, Aselia. Something like that. Let me make an adjustment here to my guide. We're going to attack with Formation 3, which is going to be Shia, Nymthor, Nanaru. We're going to attack with Formation 4, which is going to be Aselia, Spherian, Halion, and we're going to attack with F2, which is going to be Celia, Yuto, Himika. Okay. Attack with F3. We're going to have Shia. We're going to use Leap Attack 2, which we have already equipped. We're going to use Accurate Block 6, since we can. This blocks twice. And then we're going to use Flame Shower here. We want to use Accurate Block 6 because this enemy will do a lot of damage to us, and this enemy will do a lot of damage to us. But it's important that Nymthor has not taken damage at this point, because we're basically not protecting her at all right now. Right? We're trying to do this as quickly as possible, which means we're going full offense. We want her to be just tanky enough to survive this hit, but not any tankier than that, because it literally doesn't matter past this point.
3回敵の攻撃をそらしつつ戦いましょう。
We're still sticking with kind of the same strategy. Shia plus an AoE attacker is actually really powerful because, again, it allows us to manipulate how much damage we're doing to the defender, right? Typically, since you have to kill the defender first before you can damage anybody else, they tend to take significantly more damage faster than the other characters do. But with AoE damage, obviously you have a little bit more flexibility there. It's just a matter of playing around it. That is probably one of the reasons why Shia is as useful as she is, right? We're going to attack with F4. And we're going to do it just like this. We're going to use Earth Prayer, we're going to use Fury. It doesn't really matter what we use Halion for here. This is just sort of the way that it played out. But at least this way she can heal herself, which is nice. And then Fury should be able to kill this defender, and will definitely be able to kill this supporter. Again, really showcasing how useful those levels were. Aselia really benefited from the 4 levels that we gave her, which I guess is obvious in hindsight, because she was only level 10 and now she's level 14, so it's a pretty big difference in her relative level. But considering that she got 2 really powerful upgrades through Impulse Blow 2 and Fury 1, she was really heavily useful in being able to complete this mission as quickly as we did. I think rather than putting a point into Halion, I probably could have put a point into Nanaru, but honestly, even saying that, if I hadn't put that point into Halion, this strategy might not have worked. Of course, Aselia takes a big hit here, but it doesn't matter because this is the last time she takes damage this mission. And then, which is kind of par for the course here, the continuation battles are probably the easiest because we can be extremely greedy. But we're going to blow this enemy off the face of the earth. We haven't used it yet. Lightning Fire does a lot of damage. It is basically going to one-shot pretty much every defender that we fight against for the foreseeable future. Because it's not just doing 1500 potency, it's doing 1500 potency plus an extra 48% multiplied by whatever the, actual resistance is here. Lightning Fire does a lot of damage, is what I'm trying to say. Heaven Sword does a lot of damage. This enemy is going to die. Let me be clear, this enemy is going to die. And even if they don't, it's a continuation battle, so we just start over from the beginning and do it again. Having access to something like Lightning Fire and against a... God, what is the term for this? I don't know, a solo unit, let's say, is really powerful because it means that you can use your most powerful ability to attack the unit every single round of combat. But you saw there that Aselia, kind of contrary to how she's performed in the past, just about one-shot the boss of this mission. So she is very much online at this point.
スレギットを制圧しました。
And there we go.
ユータ様、
There's an 8-turn clear of mission 13.
作戦成功です。
And I believe Aselia is our ace here. No, Nanadu. I guess that doesn't surprise me. Get some bonus mana, some bonus ether. And that's the end of the mission. There were some pretty interesting revelations there, story-wise. I think combat-wise, I don't know how well this strategy scales. It's one of those situations where, like I kind of alluded to at the end, if you haven't made the exact same level up decisions that I have, this strategy is probably not going to work. But hopefully the level up decisions I have made a lot of sense. I don't know that there are a ton of other ways that I would have chosen to level up just by virtue of the way that I play these types of games. So anyway, that's my strategy to get a 8-turn clear of mission 13, which is well under the 14-turn requirement to get an SS rank. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.